Overnight, we went from a $5 million ARR business to a $3 million ARR business.
So Tom, in 2009, you went to college to be a doctor. And while you're there, your roommates drag you into the startup competition. You guys fail 4 startups. But for this fifth one, you end up dropping out of college and you raise $92 million for your startup. This business ends up being Jebbit. And you guys design forms that essentially feel more like a game so that people will actually give you their data. Fast forward to today, you end up with some of the biggest clients in the world, like the NFL, Pepsi, Bank of America. Sold it in 2024. And today you run a meditation app called Waking Up. You're building this with Sam Harris, who's a famous neuroscientist. So Tom, take me back to when Jebbit really started to grow. Like, do you remember the moment that you figured out, like, hey, I can't do this all by myself. Oh shit, like I actually got to build a business?
Yes, there were multiple moments, unfortunately, because like many startups, I think we had multiple like starts and stops where we thought we were finally onto something and then quickly realized, oh, we're just kind of, what's the right phrase? Like drinking our own Kool-Aid and think we have more product market fit than we have. So yeah, I mean, there's multiple moments that we could get into, but I would say looking back on it, it sounds great when you say it in that quick intro. It took us 13 years to get to the point of selling the business. And I would say we were probably 7 years in before we really got like true market fit, product market fit. And by that point, we had already raised multiple seed rounds. We had raised a Series A. We had raised a $12 million Series B. And so it's interesting because we were getting some of this like external validation. We obviously were doing some things right. These are obviously smart investors giving us money, but we still kept kind of getting ahead of our skis and thinking we had solved more than we had solved.
What was that like years 5, 6, 7? Like, was that scary when you were, say, 5 years in before finding product market fit?
Yeah. I don't know if I would ever use the word scary. I mean, people like to ask a lot like, oh, did you ever think about quitting or did you ever, think it was going to fail? And like, honestly, never thought about quitting. Once I dropped out of school to do this, I was like, we're doing this to the end and we're going to be successful. I'm sure most entrepreneurs you talk to, you look back at it and you're like, you just had this blind, naive confidence. So was it scary? No. Was it incredibly frustrating and incredibly emotional and like an emotional roller coaster? Yes, absolutely. It was that. Yeah.
And so like, what was the moment like? So when you went from product market fit to finally finding product market fit, like, did you have to then build all these systems, restructure the business? Did you do that pre or post product market fit?
I'll take like 2 minutes and paint like the broad brushstrokes of how I see it. And then you let me know where you want to dive in deeper. So when we won the business plan competition in 2011, it was literally just a bunch of PowerPoint slides. We hadn't written a line of code or anything. And the idea was effectively to attach questions to video ads and pay people to answer those questions correctly. We never launched that product because we realized as a bunch of college kids, we had no business integrating with ad servers and everything else you'd have to do to run that business. So the first product we actually launched while we were in college was a website that paid college kids money to do surveys for brands. We actually got that up to a couple million in revenue. We dropped out of college with that. We raised 2 million in seed funding with that. That moment was one of the moments we were like, wow, we're really on to something. Then we pretty quickly realized in like 2014, this business isn't going to scale very well. It's a marketplace and the kids are really just here to, earn their money to go out to the bars in the weekend and they don't actually care about the brands. And so we wanted to build something that was a more genuine way for brands and consumers to connect. And so probably in 2015, we started to get some real traction on being a platform that brands could use to make these interactive quizzes, like answer 5 questions and we'll recommend the right product for you. Consumers doing it for the right reason to save time and get a recommendation. We're able to capture that data from them answering questions that a brand would normally get in just a basic, boring form, like you were saying in the intro, but they're doing it in this much more interactive way. We got that up to a couple million in ARR, started feeling good. We really realized that the bigger vision was about the data capture. It wasn't just about like this quiz to buy a product in the moment, but it was about this really valuable first-party data we were collecting. And so we started pitching this much bigger data vision to CMOs. And we closed $1 million deal with eBay, 1.3 million. It was like by far our biggest deal. It was like probably 10 times bigger than our other largest deal. That led to us raising a big Series B of 12 million. We started feeling really good. and we just spent a year selling to CMOs. And then at the end of 2019, eBay churned and a couple other big customers churned. And overnight, we went from a $5 million ARR business to a $3 million ARR business. We lost the $1.3 million eBay business and $700K of other business. And the big learning there was we were pitching this big, crazy data capture vision to all these CMOs, and they were loving it, and they were signing contracts, and they were pushing the software down to their teams, and their teams weren't as bought in. And all the features we were building were the sexy features the CMOs wanted and not the basic building block features the lower level marketers on the team needed. And so despite this awesome vision, the blunt point is the end customer, the actual like a social media coordinator, CRM manager, they just weren't using the software. And so, I remember the convo with the eBay CMO. She was just like, I loved your vision, but my team's not using it. I can't keep spending $1.3 million a year. That was really the moment we had to like buckle down and rethink about our approach. We had to lay off a third of the company. We were 45 people. We laid off 15 people. And yeah, I mean, at that point, it was end of 2019. We were 8 years into the business at that point. And so there was like, there's like 3 or 4 pivots, and there's multiple moments of like thinking we were finally making it and then kind of getting punched in the face and having to regroup and rethink about where we go next.
So what'd you guys do?
In 2019?
Yeah, was it a positioning problem, you think, or was it like an adoption problem, or what was the issue?
It was an entire go-to-market strategy problem. So our insight was right at the end of the day. Brands wanted to build these interactive experiences that were more engaging, and they wanted to capture first-party data. What we actually did was basically just reverse the whole go-to-market strategy. So instead of having our sales team target CMOs, instead of trying to close these big, like minimum 100K a year deals, like true enterprise deals, and instead of pitching this big data capture vision and having all our product features be tied around that, what we did was basically say, we're going to go bottoms up approach, go find a low-level marketer, go pitch them on just like one quiz they could try. Sell them a $12,000, like $1,000 a month deal, $12,000 a year or $18,000 a year. Let them get started. We changed our whole product roadmap focus on the little boring features, like how do you make the quiz look and feel the way you want so it matches your website, and how do you make like the drag and drop interface really sleek and easy to use, and the UX of that. And over time, it slowly started working. And we ended up getting to the point where we had multiple customers spending over $1 million a year, over $2 million a year. But this is over time. This is over 2, 3, 4 years of deals that started at literally 18,000, 30,000 and just kept growing. Because when you get into some of these big organizations, some of the ones you listed, once it starts working and once the end users are using it and sharing it with their colleagues and saying, you got to check out this Jebbit tool I'm using, it's amazing. Look at this thing I just built in an hour. Look at the ROI we're getting from it. It was just a totally different world, and it was easier for the salespeople to sell. Deals moved faster, and then you're scaling not based on these like crazy big pitches and long sales cycles and asking for $500,000. You're scaling just based on another team wants to try it. Another team wants to try it. We're just going to add on, more experiences for you to build with your license.
Interesting. So it was a complete pivot from like CMO high level structure to the marketing doers, right? What did you have to change? So did you have to change your whole go-to-market strategy, your pricing, your positioning? Like, did everything have to change? Was it essentially a new business?
Basically. Well, yeah. So that's the funny part. It's like the product was the same, and where we focused on building changed a little bit, but it's like, and the ultimate vision that the company didn't change. But yes, it felt like we were changing everything. I mean, we did change everything with the go-to-market strategy. We changed the positioning a lot from like capture first-party data to just like put this quiz on your website and it will increase conversion rates by 25% and increase AOVs and things like that. We changed who our salespeople went after, like who the BDRs were reaching out to, totally changed the pricing with like minimum deal sizes they could go after. There was like a big fundamental change in all of that.
Did you have to change? So you still use essentially your own same go-to-market tactics, but you had to reposition the positioning, the offer, et cetera. So like you were using BDRs to go whatever upmarket before, targeting the same people, but now you're going same company role.
Correct. Yep.
Got it.
And I'd say some of the marketing stuff changed. Like, so for the BDRs, exactly what you said is right. Like, it was just reach out to the same companies, but totally change the level you're reaching out to. You know, for the marketing team, they changed a lot of the events we were going to be, you know, not the events the CMOs are attending, but the events that like coordinators and marketing managers are attending. And they changed a lot of the like newsletters we sponsored and different things like that.
Yeah, got it. And so you laid off a third of the people, changed your go-to-market and went for it. And I'm imagining you had to restructure and we had to rebuild. Like how did you restructure the company from like a ops and like literal structure differently in that second round?
I don't have a strong memory of us fundamentally changing a lot of the like core operations of the business. I think so much was just focused on everything I was just talking about with the go-to-market strategy and the product strategy and things like that. You know, I know for a lot of the individual team members, like obviously just how they were using their days felt fundamentally different based on the update and things. And, you know, when you only have 45 people and you lose 15, like that puts a lot of stress on just what people are used to doing. And, you know, some of those people we let go were some of the more like support type roles that are gone now. So people had to roll up their sleeves and do a lot more. But I mean, one of the things I was most amazed by from the whole process, looking back on it, is so we did these layoffs end of 2019. Obviously, none of us knew COVID was about to hit, you know, 3 months. You know, that threw us for a whole nother loop. But, you know, I remember, and I had just read Ben Horowitz's book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which was, yeah, some really helpful tidbits in that of how to effectively do a layoff. Because, you know, for me going into it, being a first-time entrepreneur, being 8 years into the business, like a layoff was like death. Like doing a layoff was the company's dead, the culture will be dead, like you'll never recover from it. That was my, I mean, I was wrong, but that was my fear in my head. And we had prided ourselves so much on culture. So what we did that day was like, we did the layoffs. We met with those 15 people in the morning. We told the rest of the company, we got them all in our conference room. We were all in an office at this time. It was pre-COVID. We told everybody to go home that day. And we told them to come back the next day, like reset. And we were going to give them the plan. And then, you know, when they came in, me and my co-founders got up there. I remember we blocked an hour for this meeting. And I think we were in the room for 2.5 hours. You know, we took them through probably a 30-minute presentation on here's everything we learned. Here's where we think we were wrong. Here's where it clearly fell apart. And based on all that, here's our plan for what we're going to do differently going forward. And then we answered like 2 hours of questions. And all of those 30 people fully embraced the new plan, doubled down, didn't leave the business. And 2 years later, we closed a $70 million investment from Vista. Like the plan worked and it finally worked. It finally scaled. We finally hit the milestones we were trying to hit. And, you know, I think that was one of the most validating moments, was doing that deal with Vista, the private equity fund, and just like looking around the room and seeing well, now it was a virtual room, right? I remember announcing it virtually because we found remote everyone else. But like looking around the screen and seeing everyone's faces the day we announced that, it was just like a really, really awesome, validating moment because most of the team was there, you know, when we had done that layoff at the end of 2019.
So what about like, okay, when you had to get rid of 45 people?
15. We were 45.
You were 45. Okay. Said another way, when you had to get rid of 15 people, what did you expect that experience to be like versus what was it like?
I expected it to be really hard to keep a strong culture. I expected the team to lose a lot of trust and faith in management. Those are probably the two biggest things I expected. The funny part, by the way, or the ironic part, is like when we got up there and said all the things we had learned and all the things that were wrong about the prior go-to-market strategy, like they all know. They're in the business. They're living and breathing it every day. Like we're not telling them anything they don't know. We're just admitting it. Like, you know, so I'm sure in hindsight, if we had gotten up there and given a different plan and said the new, like I think a big reason why it worked is I think in hindsight, we made the right pivot. But, you know, I'm sure if we had spewed a bunch of stuff that they didn't think was true and that didn't feel true to their day to day, but like the customer success people knew we were struggling to get end user usage, and the the product team and engineers could see they were building these like flashy data capture dashboards for CMOs, and the CMOs were never checking it, and that the end users weren't actually building the forms and the quizzes. So like everything we admitted, I think it was just a breath of fresh air for these people that were working really hard alongside us every day, and they were feeling us banging our heads against the walls. And like once you say it and admit it and then give them the freedom to go do something different, I think they were just, they missed some of their good friends and colleagues that unfortunately had to lose their job that day. But, I think they really just like buckled down and got focused and were excited about the next phase of the company with that pivot and go-to-market strategy and product strategy.
Yeah. And so you were able to keep the culture. You said earlier you were super proud of the culture you created.
Yeah.
Did it get stronger? Like you were able to keep the culture?
That's the other ironic part. I mean, we talk about it now.
Wow.
I just was talking to a few of the people last week. We were just doing like a catch-up call.
Yeah.
And, my co-founder, Michael, says this all the time. He's like, once you go through that together and then come out on the other side, it's like, you feel like you can go do anything with those people now. Like you feel like those are your people you'd, go to battle with any day. So, I mean, that's the silver lining and positive of going through that experience.
Yeah. Did you learn anything about that experience and like designing culture and that kind of stuff that you use today for waking up your new company?
I think it just really reiterated for me something I kind of already knew and tried to live this way of just be transparent and honest with the team. Like, don't try to sugarcoat things. Don't try to blow smoke, whatever. Don't try to toxic positivity. Like, I think it's important to be optimistic and see the glass half full and, all of those things. But like, there's an important balance there. And I think when you're transparent and real with the team about the problems and the challenges, I just put myself in the shoes of like, that's who I would want to work for. If I was a, employee of any startup, I'd want to work for a management team that is just being real and open and transparent about things. And I've only ever known two cultures because I did Jebbit for 13 years and now I've been at Waking Up for a year. So I'm not the best to actually speak to the wide variety of cultures out there, but just from friends or colleagues I'll talk to, I hear stories of management teams operating differently.
Yeah. And what does that culture look like today? Like, what does it look like in Waking Up versus for Jebbit?
In terms of what? There's a million different paths we could take that question down.
What are you most proud of?
I would say at Jebbit, I was most proud of just the resilience of the team and the closeness of the team. As we got acquired by another Vista company, Blue Conic, we would hear comments from their management team of like, wow, it's amazing how close the Jebbit team is and how tight knit the Jebbit team is. And yeah, I think part of that was just the culture me and my co-founders tried to create. I think part of that was the up and down nature of our journey and how many hard times we had to go through. I do a lot of like investing and mentoring today, and I'll watch founders make like one pivot over 2 years and then finally get product market fit and raise their big round and take off. And they're like, man, that was hard. Like that took so long. And I'm like, yeah, that was hard. I agree.
What the hell?
I just keep my mouth shut normally. But ours was a long journey. It was like 8 years and like 3 or 4 real significant pivots until we got there. That's what I'm most proud of there. At Waking Up, it's much newer. Like we're a small team. We're only like, it's newer for me. Sorry. I've only been there for a year. They started the company 7 years ago. It's a really small team, but I think I'm most proud of like maybe a couple different things. One, just how like open and honest and transparent everyone is. Like we're having really good debates right now, really good, like open conversations about where things should go. I don't think I can take any credit for this. I think this is like Sam and the team he built before I got here and just the quality of what the app is and the content, but they all just like everyone just cares so deeply. Like there's such a mission behind Waking Up that I feel lucky to be a part of that just didn't exist with Jebbit. Like with Jebbit, I loved my co-founders, love my team. Like we went through all these hard times. We, struggled, we won together, we figured it out. There were so many aspects of it that I loved, but at the end of the day, we were helping big brands capture more first party data. There wasn't this like deep, so like our meaning came from other things, but not what the company actually does. And, it's a privilege now to get to work for something where, we have a Slack channel where when people write reviews in the App Store, it just like auto populates them there, and you're seeing like 5-star reviews every day of people saying this completely changed my life. Like my experience in the world is so different now, and it's just like you kind of have to pinch yourself, realizing like, wow, I get to go to work every day and work on something that does that for people.
Yeah, I mean it's moving, it's a different, it's personal and it's caring, which is so different than data. Like data's cool, but it's not meditation.
Totally.
And so what does that team look like today? Like what's the org structure like? And is that structure from like lessons what you've learned at Jebbit?
It's pretty flat. Like I was saying before, like it's not a big team. And when I got here as well, there weren't really a lot of people focused on like proactively growing the business, people in like marketing or partnerships type roles. There's also a credit to what they built and the quality of the content and the app that it got this big, without doing a lot of that proactive, marketing. A lot of it came from Sam and Sam's following when he launched the app. He was already a well-known author and podcaster before launching it, and he had already built a large community of people that really trust him. And then a lot of the growth came from, just word of mouth and people just telling their friends or family about it. We have a lot of therapists or, college professors that use the app and recommend it to their patients or their students, different things like that. So when I got here, it was a small product and engineering team, a small content team that works with all our teachers in the app. This really awesome and small like creative and art team. If you use the app, like people love how high quality the art is. And a lot of what we've been doing since I got here is building out functions like marketing, partnerships, really thinking about how do we go do those things to grow, but do it in a way that feels really on brand with waking up. If you've never meditated before, from the outside looking in, it's probably hard to understand what is different from a waking up versus other apps out there. If you're in the space and you've meditated a lot, and that was my personal journey before getting here, I've been a big user of the waking up app since 2018. Like there's very clear reasons why. Obviously I'm biased now, but I would have told you this 2 years ago if you had asked me. Like there's very clear reasons why waking up is like the best, most in-depth, highest quality app out there. And so a lot of it now is just how do we tell that story more, but yeah, do it in a really genuine and authentic way.
And it sounds like what makes the app so amazing is you put a ton of emphasis into the content, the instructors, the designers, the actual experience itself. Like you were saying, like you don't have a ton of marketing and sales because it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like a difference. I imagine Jebbit was marketing sales heavy in terms of like where you put more people. Mm-hmm. Here, it sounds like you put a lot of emphasis on the actual product itself, engineering, content. When you say partnerships, is that partnerships for distribution or partnerships with instructors to get more folks on the app?
It's mostly right now partnerships with like podcasters and influential people who will talk about the app on their shows or in their content that they're putting out. It's mostly that. There's other directions we want to evolve and take partnerships over time. But that's really the core focus right now.
Yeah. And so when you guys, in terms of structure, it sounds like most folks are in product land, let's call it, right? Mm-hmm. Content, instructors, designers, etc. Are there other, do you have like support folks? Like how do you design the rest of the functions?
Yeah, we do. Support's outsourced. That was something that already existed when I got here. Like to give this team and the company a lot of credit, like there's been a lot of things since I took over the business that I haven't had to touch. Like there's a lot of things that it was just like, this is a high functioning, like world class. And from my perspective, although I'm still young. I don't have the most breadth of experience ever, but like from my perspective is like functioning really well and I barely have to touch, support is one of those things. Engineering is one of those things. We have our CTO is based in New York, but all of our other engineers are outsourced and are in other countries. So yeah, a lot of the like core infrastructure was already there. I think a lot of what I've done is more spinning up some of these new functions that weren't as strong and try to work with the team on figuring out, what are the ways we can do this that feel authentic and genuine to you guys. So I'll give you one example of that. We spun up a growth agency. We started testing paid ads, some like pretty normal things you would try. Growth agency thinks we should try UGC content, makes total sense. So, they have all their UGC partners, they go spin up a bunch of videos. And then I remember the team meeting one week, we showcased like 3 to 5 of these videos to the core waking up team. And they're like, absolutely not. We can't launch these. And I'm like, why? And they're like, none of these people are real users. They're like, all of these people these are UGC content creators that were paid to talk about waking up. They're like, we don't feel morally comfortable putting those videos out there. And like anyone in the marketing world, you're like, that's just a standard practice. That's like something every company in the world does. And the waking up team's like, nope. We like, if there's going to be videos out there, it has to be real, authentic users. Now, this is where, okay, well, we have a great app that people love. So we did a post in our community and, overnight, I think within a week, we had like 500 videos submitted from real authentic users. And then, so we're, edited. So now any video you see that goes out about waking up is from a real authentic user that's actually using the app on their own, is not paid to make this content, anything like that. So it's like, it's about finding ways to like, just take some of the things that weren't being done because there wasn't a lot of internal emphasis on growth, marketing, partnerships, those types of things, but matching it with ways that like feel really authentic to the team.
Yeah, got it. And I imagine that like a real user would use different words, different emphasis.
Correct.
Like they'd probably speak to another potential user in a much more relatable way than if you paid someone in Bali to like get on the app and show to marketing.
Yeah. And by the way, we see the same things with the partnership work we've been doing and with working with podcasters. I mean, I was literally looking at some of this data this morning. Like when we work with a podcaster who's actually a genuine user of our app, like we can go look up their account and see they have hundreds of hours in our app. When they post about it, like you look at the funnel metrics of like people that clicked their link, downloaded the app, started a trial, like their metrics are like 10 times higher than someone who doesn't actually use the app, but they generally talk about wellness or fitness or mental health. And then they decide they respect us and they want to try a partnership with us. And we ink a deal together and they do it. And it's like, when I watch what both of them say, this is like an interesting thing I'm learning about humans. Cause when I watch what both of them say, like they both sound good. They both like saying the right things about our app. And I just think there's something about like, I think humans are just really good at picking up on authenticity and knowing like this feels totally genuine, this feels totally authentic, and I'm going to go take action now, based on what you just said. So
are these people promoting to their audience or promoting cold to like
add promoting to their audience? Yeah.
Because I imagine like they built their audience a certain way.
Correct.
And so if you start to talk about different stuff, it might not resonate as much compared to someone who may be sneaking in references over the years that they've been listening, the audience has been listening, sneaking in references to how they meditate or that kind of stuff. Totally. Super interesting. And so for, you said there's some functions that were so well built, you don't have to pay attention to them, right? What is it that makes those functions so well built? Like, I think you said support is outsourced. Like, do you have like, is there an outside agency that manages support? Or was it just built really well with the systems in-house? Like what happened?
There is, and it's support is all managed through our CTO. I think it's just, I think Sam and his business partner, Jaron, just attracted really high quality people that are really good at their job and they just know what they're doing and they've built really awesome functions. And, I still try to pay attention to them, but there's not, I think for any leader, you're kind of coming in and you're looking at everything and you're like, the analogy of being on the boat and there's like different holes you're trying to plug and you're like, okay, what are the most important fundamental things to improve or change or add to get us from where we are to where we want to go? And I just feel really lucky that a lot of the core functions here were already in place and functioning really well. And of course, like anything, there's still improvements we can make and ways to make them better. Like every support team in the world, we've been leaning into like how we do more with AI, and now 50% of their tickets are being handled by AI and things like that. So, it's not like we're not still looking at them with an eye for how to improve them or how to optimize them, but it's pretty different to inherit a function where like our CTO has been here since basically day one. He's been here for 7 years. We've been using the same support team for years. They're doing a great job versus like you look to a different part of the business and you're, I remember asking this when I was interviewing because I asked to meet some of the team. I was like, can I meet whoever manages our relationship with all these podcasters and whomever manages our partnership program? And they're like, oh, that person doesn't exist. And I was like, wait, we have partnerships today. Like who's overseeing them? And they're like, well, whenever someone calls, one of us just jumps in and takes it. And then, we launch the partnership and then no one really follows up or manages it. So it's like, okay, that's like a pretty clear gaping hole where like, we should fill that and we should have someone own that. And, the first hire I made was a woman named Ashley, who's now leading partnerships for us. So it's like, anyways, just different levels of how significant of a problem is it and how much should we, focus and lean in there.
Yeah. What are the holes you're looking to plug today?
Now it's less, for the most part, after being here for a year, we've like added the people we needed to add and we have the core functions in place now and we have like the strategy in place now of what we want to do this year. So now it's a lot more in the weed stuff. Now it's a lot more like figuring out, to use an example we talked about earlier, like which UGC videos are actually, driving the most results for us. And like any company, we have different personas of how they find us. We have people that, we refer to them more as like optimizers. They're an athlete or they're a tech executive or, a musician, and they're using the app to help them like get their mind right and perform better. And it's about how meditation increases their performance. And then, there's another cohort of people where it's like, they're really struggling and suffering. Maybe they just like had a spouse die, or maybe they just got a cancer diagnosis, or maybe they're going through a divorce or a challenge with their kids, or, something in life significant has happened to them and they're really struggling and suffering. And maybe they're talking to a therapist, maybe they're not, but they're like, meditation's going to really help them understand their mind more and maybe relieve some of their suffering. And I mean, I could go through other personas, but you get the idea. Like right now, it's a lot of just figuring out like, what are the stories that resonate most? What are the people to partner with that resonate most? What are the channels where we can deliver the right messages most? Because I mean, this has been really cool for me in a different way with Jebbit. Like the product is amazing. There's such clear product market fit. I don't have to worry about the product as much in a way where with Jebbit, it was like 8 years of trying to find product market fit. Here it's like, that's amazing. My relationship with our content team is like, we just chat and they let me know the awesome new teachers that they're planning to bring into the app and that they're working with. And I might ask 1 or 2 questions and I'm like, great, you guys keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to spend more time over here and we're going to try to figure out, how do we go find the next, million people that are going to get a lot of value out of this app and get them in here.
Yeah. And so like, it sounds like the focus is like you're heavily focused on growth. And so I heard UGC, optimizing ad channels, that kind of stuff. But then I also heard like customizing the user journey for each avatar, right? Coming up with like, what are the big avatars, and then figuring out how do we have that make each individual avatar have a better experience on the platform.
Correct.
Are those the two main things levers you're pulling?
Yeah. And on that second one, like part of this is just the nature of like, you do something so well for 7 years and then you end up creating a different problem. So like when the app launched, it was really just Sam. And there's this amazing 28-day intro course where Sam takes you step by step through what to do for 28 days. It's like 10 to 20 minutes a day. But then after the intro course, you're just left to go explore the library for yourself. And our content team has been launching a new piece of content every week for 7 years. So as I'm sure you can imagine, that's a really robust, wide-ranging library now. And some of it is deep Eastern spiritual, content. Some of it is more practical life content. One of the most popular series is something called Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Berkman. It's like wide-ranging content. And so a lot of people get lost after the intro course and they get overwhelmed and they don't know what to do next. And again, it's a great problem we created, credit to our content team, but now we've got to fix that problem. We've got to do a better job of like guided paths and personalized recommendations. And, based on what we know about you, here's what we think you should listen to next.
Yeah, like I imagine you have the data on like if I download the app, like which videos I prefer to click on and going on a different journey that way. And you might show whatever, Codic nomadic entrepreneur Brian one series of videos and then like insert other avatar here, another series of videos.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha. That's cool. That's awesome. Cool. And so that's your focus. You're like, hey, I'm going to drive a ton of resources, attention, etc., into optimizing paid media and then building a better customer experience for these unique avatars. Do you have to restructure the business to make that happen? Like, is there any kind of like org structure you have to do differently or org structure differently or performance differently or any of that kind of stuff?
We've definitely changed how certain people are spending their time. So that's not necessarily like a big full org structure change, but it is certain people's roles are definitely adapting, and we could get into some of those examples if it's helpful. Maybe the biggest thing that I've changed structurally is like there wasn't really a concept of a management team before, and now we've put one together where I think I've pulled the top like 7 or 8 people together. So it's our CTO, our head of product, our head of data, our head of brand, head of content, 1 or 2 other people. And we're now meeting weekly to like really plan where we're going to take this business and really have better, cross department alignment. I mean, a lot of these teams only have 1 or 2 other people on them, right? It's not like we're a 100 or 200 person company. But, I did observe when I got here that there was a lot of incredible individual contributors that are amazing at their function, but not always the best, like cross-department communication and collaboration. And a lot of the new things we want to do that we've never done before, they require a lot of that. Like the one example I'll give you from last month in February, we launched a 14-day challenge that was one thing to do every day in the app that wasn't meditating. So a lot of people, they think the app's just a meditation app. They think the only thing to do there is like sit and meditate, but there's a lot of other things that we like instruct you to do, little homework assignments you can do that involve other things that, aren't sitting on a cushion meditating. And so, but putting this challenge together, it's a whole cross-departmental thing. Like product was involved, content was involved, marketing was involved, partnerships was involved. So, I think a lot of just like creating that forum for us to come together, 90 minutes a week and have the debates we want to have and coordinate the things we want to coordinate together, I think will pay off a lot in the long run. And that was something I don't think we did at Jebbit until we were multiple years in. I can't remember when we created it, but it definitely wasn't something we did early on.
So tell me more about this. Like, what did you create? And like, why did you do it? Like, what was the problem statement that had you guys create this forum?
The problem statement was probably twofold. One, it was, I think Sam and his business partner, Jaron, deciding to bring in a CEO in general. The company had never had a CEO before, coupled with just like my energy and enthusiasm to grow it. I think we went from not trying a ton of new things to now the team being overwhelmed with the amount of new ideas on the table. We should do a challenge. We should spin up all this new type of content. We should host an in-person summit. We should do workshops with our teachers. Like I could list you 15 ideas we're evaluating right now that we want to do. And it's awesome. And the team's really excited, but like you need a forum to debate and discuss and prioritize, when are we going to do these things? Like, hosting an in-person summit, that's not just like an easy, oh yeah, let's launch it and let's A/B test that. beta test that. That's like if you're going to do it, that's a huge undertaking. And so, the first is there wasn't the forum to evaluate big ideas and prioritize them. And then the second was just once an idea is decided on, like we decided we want to do that challenge in February, having the forum to just communicate and collaborate and get all the different department heads together to get it done. I'd say those are probably the two main purposes of it.
And how do you guys prioritize today? Like, how do you decide if an idea is worth pursuing?
At the highest level, whoever's really pushing it puts together a memo or a deck, and then I block an hour and we get the management team in the room and we debate each other and yell at each other and argue and try to come to a conclusion afterwards. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, Tom. It's been great. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn is probably the easiest, or my email is just tom@wakingup.com if anyone wants to hit me up.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Amazing, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great to meet you.
Cheers.